behind them, obviously, is Georgie Fury. In car number 30, the Peter Jackson Nissan Skyline. Onto the Yokohama back straight. The run down through the Super Bowl at Adelaide International Raceway. Once again, expect Johnson to pull out of the draft the next time they get about halfway down this long front straight. There's an official running across the circuit. I don't think it was anything off Johnson's car. Maybe it was something that was left on the track. Here comes Johnson, down on the inside this time of Larry Perkins. And they are side by side. At this stage, Perkins will go in deeper and try and head Johnson off into the turn. He just hasn't got enough to be able to get there ahead of Perkins. And Perkins is doing one heck of a job.
I think you're right. I don't think anything's come off the car. I've had a good look around it and it appears to be intact, so something must have been laying on the track. And there was a double yellow flag out down there. Larry Perkins and Dick Johnson, they were teammates a couple of years ago. They both got a lot of respect for each other. And a fascinating battle between, believe it or not, General Motors and Ford. And that's been the case over many years in Australian Touring Car Championship racing. As Denny Holm pits, and there's the bits and pieces of fiberglass on the circuit. A bit hard to know what that's all about. And look at George Fury closing the gap under brakes as they go through Motorcraft. By G made a lunge on the back of Johnson that time. This battle is a long way from over. Dunlop tyres on all three of these leading cars at the moment, all radial tyres but different compounds. There's Peter Williamson on the left-hand side of screen in the Toyota Supra. Grice with pressure on him from Seaton at the moment.
Has Johnson fired all of his artillery early? We'll have to wait and see. As they swing through the shell sweeper, it's still Larry Perkins, number 11, the NZ Connectors Commodore, clear of Dick Johnson. Not that clear. George Fury is in third spot. They haven't changed, and in fact, they're opening up a bit of a gap over Alan Grice, next in line with Glenn Seaton, then Jimmy Richards. We saw a hell of a scrap at Wanneroo Park, and I think we're seeing something that's equal to that here today at Adelaide International Raceway. George Fury's race is far from over. He's trying to hurry Dick along. Dick was very close to the tail of Perkins' car. Just gone slightly off the boil in the last lap or so, and Fury wants to get back into business with Perkins again. Johnson trying to hang off until the very last moment to think about an inside approach to the turn through Shell. But everything they've been able to throw at Larry's been able to answer.
Back, Jim Richards has been passed by Glenn Seaton, young Glenn on the charge, and looking for a pass on Alan Grice.
Drew Price there in the Toyota, getting out of everybody's way. Car number 35 is calling to the pits, and that's Andrew Medicki. He's got problems with the OXO entry.
And Denny Holm is also in there, and Neville Crichton's Valvoline Ford Sierra. Bad luck for them. They're in with some problems. Once again, you'll see the trail for first back to sixth as they come down the front straight. Johnson sitting in behind Larry Perkins. And here comes Johnson again, trying to catch Perkins unaware and hit Seaton. But here's Johnson on the inside and takes the lead in round number 5. Crowd erupting here on the front straight at Adelaide International Raceway as the top banana leads the bunch.
Great driving from Dick Johnson. Through on the inside, a comfortable braking manoeuvre. So the new order is Johnson, then Perkins, then Fury, Grice, Seaton with lots of pressure on him at the moment from Glenn Seaton, then followed by Jim Richards, and Tony Longhurst still surviving, and that tyre problem seems to have subsided.
Dickie Johnson, car number 17, the Shell Ultra High. Cosworth Sierra comes off the speed bowl in Adelaide, and the crowd, all the arms in the air. Tricky Dicky leads yet another one. Led Lakeside, that was surrounded in controversy when he had a tickle with the turbo. But Dick's doing it nicely and getting onto some of the slower cars in front that he's coming up on, just to advise with a little courtesy blink of the lights. Just a couple of laps ago, we picked up an interesting little point that you might like to take a look at now on our Shell Ultra High replay. Was Dick Johnson. Maybe we're looking at what went on. There's Dick just pulling up behind Larry Perkins, and maybe that's where there was a clip. No, it's
got me bluffed. Unless on the Sierras, there's a piece of fiberglass just on the leading edge of the rear wheel arches. It's like part of the flaring or the skirting of the car. Unless that piece has come off and we haven't been able to spot it, but it's curious. It seems to have come off Dick's car, but I can't find where it came from. We'll have another look as he goes past our commentary point.
The pick
Got me bluffed.
Queensland's favourite son leads them across the line. Perkins in second, Fury is third, Grice is fourth, Seaton, then Richards. That's the order, and plenty of traffic to pass. They're coming up on Graham Hooley from Western Australia, and just ahead of him, Tony Noski also. There's Johnson on the inside of Graham Hooley. Graham moves to the outside, gives Dick a clean run, and Dick now up on Tony Noski, the Kalari Transport Commodore. And he'll probably catch him up through the S's coming down to the bowl, which he is doing just at this moment. As they come back onto the bowl, Noski moves to the outside, and Dick Johnson still leads them clear of Perkins. Through Motorcraft turn, there's the placings at the moment. Queensland's favourite son. Lap 27 of 60, round 5. Shell Ultra Nationals from Adelaide International Raceway. And Larry Perkins resisting every attempt by George Fury. Meantime, in the pit area, Greg Hansford is in problems with the second of the Shell Ultra High Cosworth Sierras.
When he went past our commentary point, the car was really coughing and spluttering, and he pulled straight into the pits. Only been happening for about a lap or so. That's Neil Lowe in the front left-hand corner of the car, chief engineer. So Johnson leading the charge, out from behind Don Smith, the Oxo Sierra, Larry Perkins, then followed by George Fury, Glenn Seaton having a look on the inside of Alan Grice. And the last time through, only 3.6 seconds separating the top 6 drivers. That's Jim right through to Dick leading the event. Amazing.
Very close. I was only remarking during the break to both Neil and Peter, rarely do you get a crook race from Adelaide International Raceway with the touring cars. Every one is just a screamer. Last year's one was sensational. And, of course, this one has been outstanding. Perkins supplying a lot of the action, leading the race until passed by Dick Johnson. And now having to contain George Fury while all that's happening. Just behind them, Alan Grice is the next one, and Glenn Seaton has gone missing. No, Glenn Seaton about to come onto the bowl.
No, in fact he has. He's dropped out of that bunch.
Just coming onto the bowl, actually, Glenn Seaton. We'll pick him up for you. He's gone via the pits the old way that Peter Brock did. You'll see him entering there shortly. Just in behind that wall on the left-hand side. Meantime, Georgie Fury works away at Larry Perkins on the inside. The two of them going side by side. No room for error. Great driving. Great mutual respect being shown by these two racers as they now work down towards the Bridgestone S's. So Georgie Fury has managed to pass Larry Perkins. That takes him to second. Dick Johnson, meantime, will lead the race. He comes onto the bowl at the moment. One of the Oxo Supercube cars. Right behind all this, of course, Alan Grice, carrying our Channel 7 race cam and the Bob J.T. Mart's Commodore. There's Perkins going through. There's the scrap, second, third, and Alan Grice is fourth.
Well, Grice has managed to close quite dramatically onto the back of Larry Perkins, and when you consider the gaps that we were looking at about 10 laps ago, we've got a completely rearranged race once more. It's Dick Johnson pulling well away, but this scrap for what I guess you could call second is raging. Perkins battling with Fury, and Grice just knocking on the door for somebody to make a mistake, but you don't find them too often from these guys.
Grice will cling onto him like a wet blanket. The vulnerability of the Nissan only shown so far in the demise of Glenn Seaton, and that's not really the best for Glenn, who of course went into today's race as the series leader from Jimmy Richards. George Fury, bad luck last week, and bad luck falling upon Glenn Seaton this afternoon. Keep in mind the Dick Johnson team already down to one Sierra.
Well, Nissan have won 3 of the 4 races so far. Glenn was looking down the gun barrel of having to figure out how to drop his worst round. I know which one that'll be now.
I have an idea, you're right. And I said the Johnson team down to 1. I'll correct that because Greg Hansford is now back out onto the racetrack, so he has 2 still running.
Larry Perkins' form in the championship so far has been very, very good. He's been gradually improving his point score. A second from Calder, a seventh at Simmons Plains, fourth up in Lakeside, third last weekend. Battling amongst the high point scorers at the moment. Jim Richards, car number 3, second in the championship, down 7 points on Glenn Seaton. That'll certainly be altered later this afternoon, and where he gets his big bonus is he constantly wins his class in the under 2.5 litre class. Points scored for that, together with their outright finishing positions. So Jim clinging very nicely in 4th position in a car that they said wouldn't work here, yet they said it would work well at Wanneroo.
It's remarkable, isn't it? This track is such a great equaliser, Neil, that you've got 4 or 5 different makes of cars right in the hunt here at AIR.
There's only 2.8 seconds separating Dick from Jim, which is quite amazing.
How much closer do you need to get to the tail of Larry Perkins, NZ Connectors Commodores?
This is Wanneroo Park revisited.
Yes, it certainly is. So Gricey all over, George Fury locking up a break as they came onto the bowl that time. Round 5 rages in Adelaide. Dick Johnson leads the touring. Lap 34 of 60. Round 5 of the Shell Ultra Australian Touring Car Championship. No baloney Tony for the JPS team. Tony Longhurst from Queensland running 6th on the road at the moment and trying to resist every attempt by Peter Brock to pass him. Tony's 30 years of age, comes from Brisbane. Drives BMW M3. First in the 84 Alpha Sud Series at Amaroo Park. First in the 85 Castrol 500. Fourth in the Touring Car Nationals of 86. And first in the 86 Better Break Series. Those stats courtesy of Nissan. Nissan know how. Tony Longhurst 4. Clipped the wall, you'll recall, early in the race. Had smoke pouring off the rear tyre. That's all dissipated. And Peter Brock, it's taken Peter quite a number of laps to even get in touch with Tony Longhurst. So he's running 7th in the race at the moment. Peter perfect. And things not running so perfect for Peter. Car number 6. Of course, we're used to seeing him in 05, but the 05 car was destroyed at Lakeside. He has a new VL Commodore under construction at the moment. It shouldn't be too long before we see the Mobil Eon and Triple M Commodore, the new car, on the racetrack. Alan Grice, meantime, is making Larry Perkins work very, very hard for his money here today. And in the Bob Jane T-Mart's Commodore is Alan Grice. Good afternoon, Alan.
Hello, Mike.
Why is it that this place always produces such a great race?
Just the nature of the place, I guess.
You're working hard here with Larry Perkins. It's all closed up just a little bit in the last few laps.
Yeah, he's having a bit of trouble with his tyres. That's why I'm getting to him. But he's making it pretty hard, naturally.
Yes, well, we always remember your great race with Larry in round 4 last weekend at Wanneroo Park. Where do you think you might have the edge over him at the...
I've got him under brakes at the end of the straight. Although, see, he can pull away under power there. I've got him under brakes at the end of the straight, and I'm better through the fast corner than him, Mike.
I know it's a hell of a thing. I want to talk to you while you're busy there trying to haul in Larry Perkins. How does the car feel at this moment?
Pretty good. Everybody's having a bit of strife with their tyres. Mine are holding in pretty good. They're a bit greasy front and rear, but if you look at any of the cars, they're all doing the same thing. But, well, we're hanging in pretty good, I think.
No problems? Engine, everything else running well?
Yeah, everything's fine. The brakes are standing up. The engine's it's good. You can see on the temperature there properly.
You sure can. That's one of the advantages of being able to ride with you in the car if you put the viewers in the driving seat.
Yeah, she's only running about 90 degrees, which is pretty good. See, bye-bye Larry sort of thing. I'm using 7, that's the best that I can do. And I've got to rely on the brakes all the time. Hello, he's having trouble with his rears. That's a good sign.
It is for you. Yeah, can you keep the mirrors on the two of these for a while? He's probably had one look in the rear vision and thought this is Wanneroo revisited.
I left the rear vision mirror off this time.
All right, we'll let you get back on and concentrate, and thanks for the visit.
Okay, mate.
Alan Grice we're riding with as he zeroes in on the tail of Larry Perkins, NZ Connectors Commodore. Now, down on the inside goes Gricey. Press, 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 a wheel up on the curb. Oh, just out of it at the last minute. These guys play for keeps.
That was very, very close. Incidentally, Murray Carter has called to the pits in the Netcom Nissan, and Hughes just through that Peter Brock has gone past Tony Longhurst as well. Intriguing scrap between the two Commodore V8s. Interesting that Alan made the comment to us then via the race cam that Larry's car is able to pull away down the straight. In theory, at least, the newer VL car, which is the one we're looking out of at the moment, is supposed to rev higher and harder than the older model and produce just a fraction more horsepower. But Neil Burns, the chief engineer and chief engine builder for the NZ Commodore team, has got Larry's car really working well. And as Larry said to us a couple of times during the week, why bother updating when you can do it with last year's car and save yourself $150,000? There's Murray Carter in the Netcom entry, unfortunately out. It's good to have Murray back on the trail again, and the news is with his new sponsor, he'll be with us for the rest of the championship run.
It's good to see Murray back. The car looks a treat, and hopefully he can put together some strong placings in the latter half of the championship series.